Living in a beach town during winter feels like living in a ghost shell. The tourists vanish, the laughter dies, the boardwalk becomes bones. I liked the emptiness. That's why I ran there at night, alone. The waves crashed. My sneakers slapped against damp planks. It felt like the world belonged to me. That night, the air was sharp. Street lamps buzzed, casting long shadows. A mile in, I felt it, the weight of unseen eyes. I turned. A man stood far down the boardwalk, still, watching. I shook it off, kept running, but the feeling grew heavier. Every few steps, I turned. Each time, he was closer. My heart thundered louder than the waves. I yanked out my last headphone. Then came the sound. Footsteps, in rhythm with mine. The boardwalk stretched like a trap. My car waited at the end, my only escape. I sprinted. My lungs burned. My legs screamed. Finally, the exit. My car. Relief swelled, until I looked up. He stood there, hood covering his face, silent, waiting. I cranked the wheel. Tires screamed. I fled into the night. I never looked back. Not once. When I reached home, I locked every door, every window. That night, I didn't sleep. My mind drew faces for him, faceless, grinning, hollow-eyed. Since then, I've never run the boardwalk in winter again. If you enjoyed this chilling tale, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more. I was 8, maybe 9. Summer at my grandparents' beach house felt endless. Cousins in every room, sand in every shoe, bikes like wild horses in the street. That year was different. The town raised dunes like castle walls against a coming hurricane. From the boardwalk, the ocean vanished behind a wall of sand. Beautiful, wrong, both at once. After beach hours, locals still wandered. Parents trusted the town, as long as we promised not to touch the water. That evening, I slipped out alone. No shoes, no permission, just a sulking kid and a quiet street. The boardwalk was empty, not a single voice, like the whole beach had fallen asleep at once. I was turning back when I saw a thread of smoke rise beyond the dune. Thin, steady, wrong. We were taught never to ignore smoke, so I climbed, palms sinking, knees sliding, sand in my teeth. At the crest, I saw it, a lonely fire on an empty shore. No chairs, no coolers, no people. I slid down and kicked sand over the flames again and again until the light died. Then I looked inside the pit. Clothes. Small clothes, half-burned socks and tiny shoes. Photos, too. Most were char. One held a face. A boy my age. A boy who looked a little like me. "Hey!" A voice carried up the sand. I looked down shore. A bald man staggered toward me. Every few steps he almost tripped, then corrected, then kept coming. "Hey, kid!" He sped up. Something sour crawled through my stomach. The beach was empty. No lifeguards, no families, only me, the dune, and a man who didn't belong. "Don't you go anywhere." My body finally listened. I ran. The dune was steeper from this side. Sand collapsed under my feet, turning every step into two. He shouted things I didn't understand. Words broke into spit and breath. Closer, closer. At the top, a hand raked my ankle, fingernails scraping sand and skin. I kicked, missed, kicked again. He slipped, and I spilled over the crest, tumbling headfirst down the other side. The world turned into sky and sky again. I hit bottom, sprinted for the boardwalk, never once looking back. By the time the house appeared, my chest burned. My throat tasted of salt and fear. I slipped inside through the kid's slider, closed it gently, cried into my pillow, because telling meant trouble, and trouble felt safer than the truth. Morning brought gulls and sun, and the lie of normal. No police on the beach, no sirens, no missing posters. I said nothing. The secret grew quiet roots. Years later, the memory still crackles like a dying fire. clothes in the pit, a half-saved face in a photo, a boy who looked like me. Sometimes I wish I could go back, find that smaller version of me, and say, run sooner, tell someone, don't carry this alone, because some fires die when you smother them, and some keep burning in the dark, long after the flames are gone. Last summer, I was 22. A cheap Airbnb with friends, bonfire on the beach, drinks, laughter. By midnight, they all turned in, but I wasn't tired. The boardwalk called to me. At night, the boardwalk is empty, shops shuttered, lights buzzing weakly, ocean wind carrying salt, and silence. It felt peaceful, almost holy, until my bladder reminded me. I spotted a bathroom, old, rusted, barely lit. I pushed the door, regretted instantly. The stench clawed at me, bleach fighting rot. I went to the farthest stall, hoping to be quick. That's when the door creaked again. Footsteps entered, slow, circling. The footsteps circled, left, right, behind. Sometimes it sounded like more than one. Then silence near the sinks. No water, no cough, just waiting. I finished, pushed the stall door. It didn't move. I jiggled the latch, shoved with my shoulder. Still nothing. The footsteps returned, louder, closer. My chest knotted tight. Adrenaline hit. I rammed the door. It burst open. I stumbled out. The bathroom door swung shut. Whoever was there just left. I rushed to the exit. The handle wouldn't turn. Scratched metal, jammed tight. I pounded the door, shouted for help. No answer. Then, movement behind me. A stall creaked. No feet below. Whoever was inside was standing on the toilet. The door burst open. A pale, hairy man. Teenage clothes, but 50 years old. I scrambled onto the sink, forced the grimy window. Halfway out, our eyes locked. I shoved through, dropped hard to the boardwalk, knee cracked, but I ran. I called the cops once I was safe. They arrived fast, but the bathroom was empty. No cameras, no shops open. That part of the boardwalk was dead. An officer pointed to scratches on the handle. Someone had locked it from outside. They told me I was lucky. And that was it. I left the beach the next day. No answers, no closure, only the memory of his eyes, staring through that stall. Don't live an exciting life, but when people ask me for a scary story, this is the one I tell. I was 15. The summer had ended, and our little beach town was empty. The bars were shut, the restaurants boarded up, only the locals, the sky, and the endless ocean remained. In summer, the town was alive. In winter, it felt haunted. The wind carried strange echoes. The sand looked darker, colder. That night, I couldn't sleep, so I decided to run. Late, too late. The boardwalk was quiet. Every plank creaked under my steps. I loved the solitude, the rhythm of my breathing, the sound of waves crashing. But soon, the silence grew heavy, like the town itself was watching me. I zoned out, lost in the runner's trance, until it happened. A faint click. My hand shot to my pocket. Empty. My keys gone. I crouched, peering through the gaps of the boardwalk. Blackness stared back. The ocean breeze faded. All I could smell was rot, hot seaweed and stale beer rising from below. I cursed under my breath, frustration boiling inside me. I knew my parents would kill me without those keys. So pride pushed me. I jumped down into the sand. The smell hit me harder, thick, damp, suffocating. I switched on the faint glow of my watch. It barely touched the dark. I started searching, moving sand with trembling hands. Garbage, wet paper, nothing else. But deep inside, something told me I wasn't alone. I crouched deeper under the boardwalk. The sand crunched beneath me. Every breath tasted of rot. I told myself, just grab the keys and get out. Minutes passed. My hands scraped through wet sand. Nothing. Frustration built into anger. I climbed back up to the boardwalk, stood exactly where I'd stopped running. Genius struck. I pulled off a shoelace, fed it between the wooden planks, let it dangle into the dark. That way, I'd know the exact spot. But then, it happened. Something tugged. Hard. The lace snapped down into the darkness. Not the wind, not gravity. Someone pulled it. My blood froze. I staggered back, staring at the gap. There was someone under there, waiting, watching. A sane person would have run. But rage twisted my thoughts. Those keys had my house address engraved. I couldn't leave them with a stranger in the dark. So I jumped again, back into the sand. The air was heavier this time, like breathing through wet cloth. I crept forward, watchlight flickering on trash, broken glass, clumps of seaweed. Then, shuffling, ahead of me, feet dragging, I spun the light. Nothing. More shuffling. This time, to my left, then to my right, then behind me. The truth hit me. There wasn't one person. There were many. My chest tightened. I turned to crawl out, but before I could escape, something cold clamped around my ankle. A hand, with fingernails digging deep. I screamed, kicked wildly. The hand held on, refusing to let go. Pain burned through my leg. I kicked again, harder. Something snapped. The grip released. I scrambled through sand, arms and knees bleeding, and burst into the night air. I didn't stop. I sprinted, blind with terror, all the way home. I reached my house, pounding on the front door, lungs burning. My dad yanked it open. Furious, I spilled everything in broken words. The keys, the shoelace, the hands under the boardwalk. At first, they didn't believe me until my mother saw the marks on my ankle. Long scratches, proof that something had grabbed me. The locks were changed the next morning. For a few days, we lived in uneasy silence. I thought maybe it was over. But then, one morning, a loud knock shook the door. Too early, too heavy. I waited for my parents, but no one moved. So I went down, pulled on a hoodie, and checked the peephole. No one. Empty street. Confused. I opened the door. The wind rushed in. The world was still, and then, out of the corner of my eye, I saw it on the doormat, lying perfectly still. Was a shoelace. My shoelace. The same one, pulled into the dark that night. I slammed the door shut. That same day, we installed a security system. Nothing happened afterwards, but even years later, I can't shake the memory. Sometimes, when the wind howls across an empty shore, I feel it again, the grip of that cold hand, and I wonder if the people under the boardwalk are still waiting. If you enjoyed this chilling tale, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more.